An AI agent is nothing but an application. When you build an AI agent, you need to make sure that the LLMs don't hallucinate. So you need to design the AI agent in such a way that you put safeguards in place. The real issue that I see product companies in India have had is the lack of marketing to the major markets. The biggest market for enterprise software or even consumer software from a unit price perspective is in the US. And then comes Europe, and then comes the rest of Asia. So a lot of these companies have not mastered the technique of marketing and selling and supporting US customers and European customers.
Hello and welcome to USISPF Conversations, one of our flagship podcasts where we interview eminent experts, board members across a range of geopolitical and macroeconomic issues. And one such guest today on the sidelines of the AI Impact Summit here in New Delhi is our board member, Raj Koneru of Kore.ai. Thank you so much, Raj.
Thank you.
This is sort of India's moment right now. We're talking about the India AI Impact Summit, the first time in the Global South. You, of someone who's grown up in India and of Indian origin, have seen the tech talent here. But what does this mean for India's tech revolution and particularly for the AI story in India?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, at this point, a lot of the AI innovation is happening in the US, and it's happening at a very fast pace. Um, the applied AI area is a massive opportunity, both in the consumer side of things and the enterprise side of things. To apply AI, you need people with knowledge of AI. And one of the largest pools of technology knowledge in the world is in India. So this is a golden opportunity for India to develop that pool, develop that knowledge, and be creators of applied AI as opposed to just consumers. I think it'll be a mistake for India just to be a consumption vehicle for AI, but it should be in the forefront of creating with AI basically solutions that will change the world.
Yeah. Based on your previous conversation right now with Ambassador Gore, a very interesting point that people talk about when they talk about the US-India relation, the shared synergy, and particularly in technology, that's very evident, right? There's the US technological infrastructure, as you touched on, and the Indian tech talent. Because from years, India produced engineers like supply chain factories, but they kind of made their base in grad schools and PhDs in Silicon Valley CEOs. We talk about the Indian American CEOs, and that's sort of Silicon Valley resonant. That synergy is still very strong. That's a very core element of the commercial partnership between US and India, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we have great Indian technology leaders. I mean, some of them are here. Some of them, we idolize and we look up to. And they've done a fantastic job in leading Indian technology companies. But when it comes to AI, it's completely democratized. It's available to everybody. It's available on your phone right now, essentially. And if you are an Indian engineer who has gone through engineering school here,
Yeah.
it's available for you to learn. So I think what's the missing element is that not enough education has been given to the engineering talent in India, about AI and how to use AI, and how to create more importantly with AI. And that's a massive opportunity. I think this India AI Summit is a good start, basically, but that education will then lead to creation, will then create to value creation.
Yeah. You know, you touched on something very interesting because we always shine with pride when we hear about the double I factor, the IITs, the IIMs, and all the engineering talent. But this is a missing component which you touched on as well. They have to make it somewhere else, right? The IITs we know produce some of the best minds, some of the ones you've sat in the rooms with. You can drop a name of someone and they're likely been to one of those schools. But yet the IITs don't feature in the top 100 universities. Perhaps something what you touched on. They're missing the innovation factor. They don't have stuff like the MIT labs, the Stanford labs. They have the talent, but they have to go somewhere else. What would you think would come out from this AI Impact Summit, or what is your conversation with universities on? You have the talent, but we need the ecosystem.
I don't know whether if you need the ecosystem in the case of AI. When you create with AI, you're not trying to do necessarily only fundamental research. If you want to do fundamental research, yes, you need the universities, you need the facilities, the resources, the ecosystem of that university. But I think the bigger opportunity is not just fundamental research. Bigger opportunity is applied AI, basically. So AI can be raw, it is raw, basically. How it can be applied to different use cases, both on the consumer side and the enterprise side, is a real opportunity. basically. The foundation, the models, the chips, the data centers will get developed. That requires capital, that requires, certain set of people who are in the US,
Yeah.
basically. And there is some initiatives in India as well, like Sarvam and other things. But I think the bigger opportunity is how do you create applied AI that can be applied to almost every use case anywhere in the world? And AI is available as much to a person in a village in India as it is to a person in Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
basically. So I don't think anything is required of universities in the US, to help an engineer here in India or a researcher here in India as well.
But what about universities in India particularly? Because how would you say that they have the talent, but what about the infrastructure? We talk about just the physical infrastructure of India, but also the digital infrastructure that needs to be built. Because India has the talent, but the innovation thing, where would you say the lacunas are that as an entrepreneur that you would like to fix if you're advising the government of India right now or university saying this is what you need to do better?
I don't know if it is digital infrastructure or access to tools or platforms. I think it really depends on what your objective is. If you're not aiming to do fundamental research and create, you know, core technologies of AI, if you're relegating that to places like the US where there is capital, there is a speed of innovation that's very hard to match, basically, and trying to win that race is going to be difficult to win. I think it is better to take whatever technologies are being developed there or elsewhere, essentially, and create additional AI products and services on top of that
Right.
foundation. That is where I think India can do a great job, basically. If you take IT services, I mean, a lot of the technologies that IT services companies implemented, whether for American companies or for European companies or wherever, essentially, were built in the US,
Yeah. Yeah.
but IT services, because of the talent pool here, were able to build a massive industry. I think that is a huge opportunity right now, not necessarily only for IT services companies, and I hope it's not just IT services companies providing bodies and project management services. I hope it is people building actually applications, AI agents for specific use cases on top of models, on top of infrastructure, whether that infrastructure is in the US or here or anywhere else.
Yeah, you touched on the IT services part because there was an acronym that was very popular 25 years ago, BPO, Business Process Outsourcing, and the call centers. Now GCC, and GCCs are no longer just back offices. They looked at front office innovation, both from data centers and AI, as you already touched on. How do you look at this from as a founder, a business leader, someone investing in India, someone who is very connected with the US India digital space, the role of GCC in the AI revolution?
I think GCCs are very important. I mean, at this point, there's over 2,000 GCCs. So when you think about any company, right, in the US or elsewhere, I mean, they essentially do four things. They have an idea, and then after that, they design and build a product or a service. They then market it, then they sell it, and then they support it. So when you look at what the GCCs are doing, and then there's the back office of those
Yeah.
companies. So GCCs, I think, started quite a bit with the back office, IT, finance, back office functions. Now they've gone into design functions around designing products and services, basically. Less in marketing, less in sales, because that's a front office function, basically. And then a lot in support. So when you think about that ecosystem, that GCC being able to use AI both for their back office to design and build a product or service and to support that product or service is a huge opportunity, for themselves,
Right.
basically. And that's what the GCCs do. They do it for themselves. But then when you take the broader ecosystem, the great Indian entrepreneur, that has the passion and the willingness to take a risk and build something, you got to, light a flame under that. We have very few product companies out of India, essentially, lots of services companies.
Yeah.
We can flip that with access to AI, that'll be huge.
Yeah, you touched on something about the lighter flame, the entrepreneur and the risk. Because just before we started, you mentioned you started your first company around 93, 94. That's happy 3 decades as an entrepreneur. And you've lived many entrepreneurial hats at different companies right now. You built and scaled companies both in the US and, of course, with Indian tech talent. Just talk us about the entrepreneurial ecosystem right now. Because you see India and Bangalore talked about India, Silicon Valley, still some time to go, but there's a risk of startups not being able to scale up. What would you say? The appetite's still there, but what would you say about the VC space, the PE space, the angel space in India? Because it's a very unfair advantage compared to Silicon Valley, which is far ahead. But the idea is to bridge the gap and for India to create its own version of a Silicon Valley, whatever that looks like.
I think the Indian Silicon Valley exists. I think it's the approach that is missing. I mean, listen, an engineer costs three times more, four times more in Silicon Valley, which means they have to raise more money if they have their engineers there. The same type of engineer here costs three times less or four times less. So you need to raise less money. It's not the money that's the differentiator.
Right.
It is okay. You have an idea. You have the engineers to build it. That much capital you can get, basically. Now you build that product. Then the real issue that I see product companies in India have had is the lack of marketing to the major markets. The biggest market for enterprise software or even consumer software, is from a unit price perspective, is in the US. And then comes Europe, and then comes the rest of Asia, basically. So a lot of these companies have not mastered the technique of marketing and selling and supporting US customers and European customers. They build something here, many of them, not all of them, some of them, many of them build something here
Right.
and they try to sell it in the local market in India,
Okay.
basically. And there's not enough scale here to be able to get scale for yourself, essentially. So if you take a company like Kore.ai, right from day one, 12 years ago, every single piece of IP we've created is created in India. We have over 1,000 engineers in India. These are AI engineers. This is some of the best talent pool in the world. How did we build AI engineers? We enabled them. We taught them. It takes time to teach them and then get them to innovate. We are a pure product company. But we didn't yearn for customers in India in the beginning. We marketed and sold in the US, built referenceability, built scale, built the support system there, essentially, and then started expanding, eastward to Europe and Asia. So I think that is the formula that would work for Indian companies, Indian product companies. AI is available, capital is available. It's your approach that needs to be different.
So I take the E word, empower. Empower your entrepreneurs, empower your engineers, if I can take that message. Let's talk about some of the major conversation on AI right now. One is trust and safety, right? Because as the Spider-Man dialogue goes, with great power comes great responsibilities. We know about, many companies doing AI, but of course there's always the threat and the trepidation of nefarious actors, particularly with drone technology right now. You're worried about when nuclear came out about falling in the wrong hands. There's a threat right now with AI fall in the wrong hands. What are the conversations you're hearing or you're able to participate in or advise on trust and safety, particularly with minors, with banking information, with our data privacy? What are some of those key conversations you need to be having?
In my opinion, that always existed. Your data sitting with a bank sits in a database, in a data center somewhere, or in the cloud. How did you trust the bank to safeguard that? We've had data breaches. We've heard all about data breaches. Those data breaches will always be there.
Right.
And there's cybersecurity tools and capabilities that you need to apply. An AI agent is nothing but an application. It's like your online banking application or your mobile banking application, except that it's conversational, basically. The data it processes is the same data that your online banking application or mobile banking application processed. So the technologies exist today, but when you build an AI agent, you need to make sure that the LLMs don't hallucinate. Basically, if you're relegating decision making to an LLM at a point in the workflow, you don't want it to hallucinate. So you need to design the AI agent in such a way that you put safeguards in place, guardrails. You do evaluations to make sure that it's staying within certain bounds, basically, of the application, and still take advantage of the LLM to give it an instruction and get a response,
Right.
basically. So it is more a design issue as opposed to a safety issue, basically. So a bank, when they design an AI agent, they have to design it in a way that like they can prevent hallucinations, but the data privacy is still the same issue that existed before.
All right. Let me reframe one of my penultimate questions in a little bit of a curveball. You're an entrepreneur, you've created jobs. Technology has always said to create jobs, and disruption is said to be a positive thing in Silicon Valley. But the problem right now we have with AI is a lot of jobs are going to disappear, right? I think the World Bank estimates over the next course of the year there'll be 1.2 million people come entering the workforce every year, but there's just not enough jobs right now. How do you look at the fact that AI is both good, but also taking away jobs? Not just the way technology took away manufacturing or menial labor jobs, but uh, someone who's 23, 24, the paralegal, the typist, all of those jobs are going to go away. So how do you solve this juxtaposition as an entrepreneur, AI entrepreneur, creating jobs, but also AI will take away jobs?
If you're a person in a job that AI will take away, basically, you've got to become one of two things. You've got to be a person in a job that uses AI to do your job, number one. Or you should be a person who creates AI for somebody else to do their job, basically. So these jobs that people are saying will disappear, basically, other jobs will get created. The one that will use AI to do a job, the other one who will create AI for others to do their jobs. So it's a question of retraining and skill sets. A lot of things in my life that I used to do got automated as a consumer,
Absolutely.
basically. But I adjusted. I still am the same person. I'm still, productive in my life, essentially. So similarly, the job market, the skills training, everything will adjust over a period of time, essentially. Any disruption will bring that. Internet brought that. Mobile brought that. Cloud brought that. This is yet another one, but this is a big one. Basically, this is machines, having intelligence to make decisions. Still controlled by humans, and that's where the jobs are going to be. The humans who will control the machines to follow instructions and execute something.
Well, the machines are here. We can't do the Luddite outlook of smashing the machines. It didn't work in the Industrial Revolution. Not going to work now. Raj, you've been very generous with your time. But on a final note, what are one of the, maybe a two-parter question, one of the myths you want to quash about AI that you've been hearing around and you're hoping this summit and your conversation here will quash that? And perhaps one of the things that you're going to take away from this AI summit or this few days of conversation you're going to be having, something that you don't think you necessarily knew before coming here, or it expanded your vision a little more?
Yeah, I think one of the myths is like there is a super intelligence that's going to solve world hunger and boil the ocean. There is nothing going to be like that. Basically, this is created by humans. Government regulations and cybersecurity and other security protocols are going to keep it tied down to actually helping humans rather than, hurting humans. So I think that's a myth, and nothing like that is going to come anytime soon, if ever, essentially. There's enough protocols in place to prevent, anything that crazy. In terms of this conference, in terms of I've seen so far, and I go to a lot of conferences
Yeah.
in the US and elsewhere. I think the topics being discussed here are similar to the topics that are being discussed in the US and elsewhere. The level of knowledge is probably not as much here than as in the US because it's still an early market, right? The level of enthusiasm is huge. I mean, there is 250,000 people at this conference. I mean, I was at the AWS conference in early December. There were like probably 60,000. Prior to that, the Microsoft conference in late November, there was about 30,000 or 40,000. That felt huge. I mean, this looks like everything, everywhere, all at once,
Yeah.
basically. So the enthusiasm is amazing, and that is the one thing I'm taking away.
Raj Koneru of Kore.ai and USISPF board member, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Pleasure.